I want to say this and I'm going to leave this here. You cannot pay me to be a Democrat. You can offer me $1 billion, $2 billion. I will turn that shit down. Reason why? Because my pride and my self-respect is more worth than that money. Okay? You cannot and I will not ever be a Democrat.
But everything, and that's kind of how I'm feeling right now.
This breakfast conversation, our sixth visit with Betsy Sarcone, dating back to August 2023. Her shift beyond dramatic. A DeSantis, then a Haley voter, said she would vote for Joe Biden if Trump won the Republican nomination. But she changed her mind.
I think Biden probably changed me more than Trump. I think watching nothing be done, for 4 years about an open border.
Now she gives Trump an A-, loves the immigration crackdown, just closed a big real estate sale, and thinks the economy is picking up. Sarcone laughed at Trump's 2020 election fraud claims when we first met. Another big change.
I'm starting to question the election of 2020, right?
He lost the election in 2020.
I don't know.
He lost the election in 2020.
The suburbs revolted against Trump in his first midterm, and Democrats are banking on it again. But Republicans don't have to worry about Sarcone.
I resisted for a long time this notion that Democrats were deliberately inviting masses of foreigners into the country because they wanted to grow little Democrats and create a one-party state. I've started to come around to that view. Before Trump effectively closed the southern border, I imagined a lot of it was incompetence and fecklessness. Now, there may be an element of that, but I think it was more intentional. The Biden administration opened that border on purpose and shipped people all over the country, wherever they wanted to go. They put illegal migrants with no ID onto commercial airplanes with regular passengers who all have to have, an impeccable national ID. I mean, it's just, there is design behind it. And I don't have any other theory aside from this pathological passion for minorities and a weird notion that people who are non-white are superior. I don't see any other reason for inviting so many people in, especially because, on the one hand, the left talks about, oh, we need these people economically. We have this aging age structure, and Social Security's imperiled, and Medicare costs too much, and we need young people to fill out the workforce. But then, they support family reunification, which means these people can bring in their parents, right? I mean, so much for improving the age structure.
It's really amazing when you can see liberals slowly starting to wake up. The unfortunate thing is there's still a plethora of people out there still supporting, and let's talk about the 2026 Democrat Party, the party of communism, the party of open borders, the party of high taxes, the party of Islam, the party of, men and women's sports and bathrooms, the party of just craziness. They're on the 20 side of every 80-20 issue in the country. The American people are fed up, but you do have some people that are like, hey, we would rather have the craziness of the Democrats than what the Republican Party is implementing. But legacy media is starting to push back and tell another story. We're going to get into this. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's go.
Let's just take a look at this. Net favorability. Party ahead at this point. Midterm of years with the GOP president. In 2018, Dems were up by 12. In 2006 on net favorability, which party you like more? Dems were ahead by 18. Republicans are actually ahead on net favorability at this point by 5 points. So Democrats are just simply put running behind their previous benchmarks, and they need to be running well ahead of them if they want to take back the United States Senate.
Well, I just disagree with David. I think working class Americans see Donald Trump as fighting for them, and they see the Democratic Party elites as being out of touch with them, not just on the economy, but on a range of issues. I think these things are more interconnected than you want to believe. And, if you can't trust what a Democrat says about, something that seems like an 80-20 or a 90-10 or a 95-5 issue, then why would I trust you when you're out here crapping on Donald Trump's economic agenda. And by the way, I don't believe that people are going away from the president on his economic policies. They do believe he's fighting for working class Americans. They do believe he is, the things he is doing are more for Main Street than Wall Street right now. And I do believe he has a longer leash than you're giving him right now to enact his agenda, which is still unfolding, of course, in the Congress right now.
Yeah, I think the American people are still on wait and see mode. And they're waiting to see things progress. They're waiting to see, what happens, with this conflict over in Iran. We've seen successes, down in, Venezuela and others in other operations. So they're waiting to see. But the economy is starting to go in the right direction when you look at it from a jobs perspective. Huge numbers came out not too long ago. Check this out.
I mean, the expectation was what, 60,000 jobs, and it's 178? Wow.
Yeah. Look, the job market bounced back in a big way in March, and that is good news, really blowing away expectations.
Yeah. So you can see that there's 178,000 new jobs, way higher than what, Democrats and what legacy media predicted, which right there in itself is a sign that we are going in the right direction. But we also need Congress to get the heck out the way. We need the Senate to get the heck out the way. We need them to do their jobs at a high level, but quit trying to stymie the growth. Now, what we do know about Democrats is that they're willing to do any and everything to hurt the American people. You heard that from AOC, right? She said it. We just didn't hurt them. We didn't hurt them enough. So their job is to just block the president by any means necessary until they can get to the midterms with hopes that they can flip the House over. I highly doubt they'll flip the Senate, but that's the hope. The hope is to flip the House. And then at that point, they can just basically block and try to stop everything that the president wants to get accomplished.
What's overall approval among Democrats of their leaders?
Yeah, okay. So,
But the crazy thing is that Democrats don't like Democrats right now, for one reason or another.
Speak about Democrat on Democrat crime, and I want to know how unusual what we're seeing right now about how Democrats feel about Democrats in Congress is. Take a look at this. This is a trend line going back through the years, midterm elections in which there's a GOP president. Look at this. In 2006, Dems' net approval of congressional Democratic leaders was plus 28. You go back to the last midterm, look at that, plus 19. Very much on the positive side. The bottom has fallen out. The bottom has fallen out. Minus 4 points. That is Democrats. Democrats' own net approval of their own congressional leaders. Even Democrats don't like their own leaders when it comes to Congress. And overall, of course, the numbers are just absolutely awful. So Democrat on Democrat crime, absolutely. This to me screams, again, primary challenges across the map. And it screams to me, hey, when it comes to those next leadership elections, maybe something might be cooking.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people historically, at least the House has flipped, when a Republican or depending on who's in office, if a Republican is in, typically the House will flip to Democrat and vice versa. We've seen that. But, I think a lot of people believe, at least legacy media and some other folks out there, they believe that the Democrats got this thing sold up. And maybe it's a situation to where people come out to vote against Trump, not necessarily for the Democrats. And that could happen. And we've seen that before. But I just think that the GOP, especially once you kind of get through primary season, when they can turn their attentions onto their opponents on the other side of the aisle, I think there is so much content. Their ads write themselves. See, right now, Republicans are still fighting it out in some key states. In primaries right now, there's a lot of them that went off the runoffs and things of that nature. So they hadn't really turned the focus on to the Democrat Party. But once that happens, like I said, the ads write themselves. There's so much content. There's so much content that can be used to really showcase who these Democrats are and what they're about and who they support. I mean, again, I hate to keep bringing it up, but you had AOC tell you that her job, the goal of the Democrat Party is to make the American people hurt more. You had Senator Murphy come out and say that, hey, their number one focus is illegal immigrants. You've got James Tallarico out there running, for a Senate seat out in Texas. And he said some of the most outlandish things, when it comes to dealing with, the alphabet community, and although he calls himself a Christian, so forth and so on. But, when you listen to him speak, you're like, how? And why would you even want to be a part of that when you believe certain things? I mean, it's crazy. So again, the ads write themselves. Now, Democrats are holding on because there were some special elections and they turned, a seat down in I believe that was down in the Tampa area. There was so they were kind of inconsequential races, but Democrats are holding on to that and like saying, see, look, this is in, deep red, quote unquote, territory, and we're able to pull a seat. But I personally just don't think that is going to transpire when the midterm comes. We shall see, but I don't think they're going to get the wins that they think they're going to get.
Let's just take a look at this. Net favorability. Party ahead at this point. Midterm years with the GOP president. In 2018, Dems were up by 12. In 2006 on net favorability, which party you like more? Dems were ahead by 18. Republicans are actually ahead on net favorability at this point by 5 points. So Democrats are just simply put running behind their previous benchmarks, and they need to be running well ahead of them if they want to take back the United States Senate.
Yeah. They're behind because they aren't focused on policy. Their focus is on stopping Trump. And with their focus being on stopping Trump means that they're not actually helping the American people. They're hurting the American people, and people are seeing it. Now, you may have some people on the left that are saying Democrats aren't fighting hard enough, but you have others that are saying, why won't they get in here and do their job and compromise, and come up with a compromise that makes sense for everybody? But the reason they don't want to do that is because it would give Trump a win and it would make him look good. And they have zero interest in doing that, which is crazy because your job is to go up there and represent the people. You know what I'm saying? Not to go and stop Trump by any means. That's ridiculous, man. Now, Hakeem Jeffries, Timo Barack Obama, gets up there and basically lies, but let's check him out.
We're going to continue to articulate an affirmative vision to the American people of what we as Democrats will do if they give us the opportunity to lead in the majority. We're going to fight hard to lower the high cost of living, to fix our broken healthcare system, to get ICE under control, to end this reckless war of choice in the Middle East, and to focus every single day, every single week, every single month on actually making life better and more affordable for hardworking American taxpayers.
Why? They had 4 years to do that. They had 4 years during during the Biden-Harris administration, and everything that he said that they were going to fight hard to do, they did the opposite. Other than the ICE thing, because they didn't allow ICE to come out because they opened the borders up and then allowed people to just go any and everywhere around the country with the goal of, like the one lady said, of creating a one-party country. That is their goal. They want the United States to be like California. That's their goal. And then they'll run that into the ground, and there will basically be nowhere to go.
Isn't that breaking through? The Democrats in Congress are almost as unpopular as the president right now.
Well, one of the things that I will say is breaking through is that consistently for the last 15 months, Democrats have been winning elections all across the country, up and down the ballot, including most recently in deep red states like Texas, like Louisiana, and of course a few weeks ago in Florida, particularly in Mar-a-Lago. So at the end of the day, when the American people evaluate who's going to push back against Republican extremism, who is going to actually make life better for them and focus on the issues that matter, consistently they're choosing Democrats. Now, as it relates to the parties being perceived as unfavorable across the country, we understand that dynamic because the American people want to see action. Things haven't been working out for them over the last several decades. Far too many people are struggling to survive and certainly can't thrive paycheck to paycheck in this country, which should not be happening in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And so we're going to continue to forcefully push back against the extremism being unleashed on the American people, push back against the chaos, while at the same period of time convince every single American that it's us who are determined to do the things that are necessary, bring about the bold transformational changes necessary to support working class Americans, everyday Americans, and middle class Americans in a manner consistent with who we are when we are the best version of ourselves here in America.
So when you hear that, it's just a bunch of malarkey, bunch of lies, because they've had an opportunity to show us exactly who they are and what they're about and who they stand for. And how do you plan on, increasing jobs and increasing wages when you've allowed, 15, 20, 30 million illegal immigrants to come over here and compete with American people, driving down wages and increasing the cost of living because everybody's competing for homes? How is that? And it's crazy because legacy media doesn't do a good job pushing back and asking the right follow-up questions. They toss up softballs and allow these guys to attempt to knock them out of the park, but they never actually tell you what their plans are because they don't have a plan. Their plan is to have a situation where it's the top 1% and the 99, and the politicians are a part of that. And that's why all of these people, they get in office and they're worth millions upon millions of dollars. But they got a problem because they got a lot of radical individuals within their party, and they say stupid stuff like this.
When this is all over and Trump is gone and Democrats are back in charge and we're rebuilding everything, the punishment for MAGA for voting Trump 3 times needs to be that they lose their internet access for 4 years, that they cannot post videos or comments on social media for 4 straight years, so that none of us are subjected to their lies and misinformation while we are rebuilding the chaos that they caused. The whole world and America gets to be without their BS online for 4 straight years. Can we all agree to this?
Democrats are tyrannical, man. And if they had it their way, they would, they're a communist, socialist party. That's pretty much who they are, what they're about. And they're not even hiding it anymore. They're telling you that, hey, our preference is that if you don't agree with us, we want to infringe upon your First Amendment. We want to silence you. We want to oust you, from the internet. We don't want you to have a say. We don't want you to have the ability to push back or call us out on our foolishness. That's who they are, man. That is exactly who they are. And I wanted to showcase that. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. And as always, keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you guys next time. Peace.
It is God who arms me with strength. Yeah, I'm battle ready. He trains my hands for battle. My heart stays steady. But thanks be to God, He gives us the victory. Through my Lord Jesus Christ, it can't live in me. I was down to the dirt, red clay on my shoes, old pain in my shirt, oh so bruised. In the Lord hit my chest, kicked air from my breath, put power in my step.